Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael and we're going to be getting right back into some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's begin. This story was created in the Relationship Advice subreddit by a throwaway account. The post is titled, Boyfriend 25M became disabled and I, 25F, want to break up, but I'd feel like a terrible person. How do I handle this? I, 25F, have been with my boyfriend, 25M, since high school. Unfortunately, he got into a car crash and became disabled below his waist. I wish to be by his side during his recovery. Disabilities have never been a deal breaker for me, and I loved him, so while this is going to be a struggle at first, I believe that we would be able to overcome this. I tried to participate in his recovery by being there with and for him during physical therapy. I moved into his parents' house to help them take care of him because he is unable to do many tasks without assistance. My job is very close to their house, and my manager allows me to clock out in case my boyfriend's parents need my help with things like getting him to the hospital. But my boyfriend just completely shut down. I understand that this is a life-changing injury, and at such a young age, this is absolutely devastating, but he just doesn't want me anywhere near him. I tried to take him out to concerts and plays, organize picnics and trips, just make him believe that his life didn't end with his injury and that he is capable of living a fulfilling life. But he was indifferent to it all. Therapy doesn't seem to help him because he still seems to be completely dissociated from everything. I couldn't see him like this anymore, and I demanded that he tell me everything that's on his mind. He just said that he is angry about everything, that he feels like I'm here only out of moral obligation, that he doesn't feel like a proper boyfriend because he can't do anything for himself, that he wants to be a real man but isn't even able to make love to me anymore, etc. I tried to be empathetic and told him that if I've been here for this long after the accident, it's obviously not an issue for me because I still love him. He just scoffed, and it seemed like he didn't believe me. Now it's come to a point where he's throwing things at me, demanding that I leave the room. He's ignoring me, and when he's not, he insults me. He's even throwing the food I bring him on the floor like a child. He has become emotionally abusive, and I'd be lying if I said that I still love him. I genuinely wanted to be there for him because I've seen stories where people, after intense physical therapy, manage to get back on their feet and walk with some assistance. I believe that he might be able to do it too. I believe that miracles exist, and the human body is a fascinating thing. Maybe he'd be able to walk again. He just needed a lot of work and faith in himself, but he has become so nasty, rude, and hurtful that I think I just fell out of love with him. I approached his mom and told her that I feel like I probably don't love him anymore because he's been so hurtful towards me for over 2 years now, and I just can't endure it anymore. I don't deserve this. His mom immediately got defensive, saying that he suffered a great psychological trauma after the accident and that it's normal for him to be so depressed. I completely understand that, but it doesn't give him a green light to be so hurtful towards people who are actually trying to help him. His mom asked me to stay because my boyfriend needs my support, but judging from his behavior, he doesn't want or need me at all. Maybe he's doing it on purpose to push me away, but at this point, I don't care anymore. I can't help someone who doesn't want to be helped. I'm tired. I tried for a long time. He shut me out. I want to break up with him, but I'd feel like an absolute trash human being for leaving a person behind when they need me the most. But at the same time, I can't endure this anymore. I want to leave, but I don't want to be that person, if you know what I mean. I am at a loss. I need advice. Initially, I was thinking that OP might be a completely insensitive asshole, but after reading the post, it's clear that she's a kind person, and it's her boyfriend who's the real jerk here. I understand that becoming disabled is immensely traumatizing, and depending on what kind of person he was prior, it may be hurting his ego tremendously. Inherently, men just want to be able to provide, and this guy probably feels pathetic that he can no longer do that, and because he doesn't know how to handle it, he's lashing out. I commend OP for staying by his side for as long as she did, but I think in a situation like this, she should leave him. I just don't feel it's healthy for anyone for this relationship to go on. OP is being mistreated, and unintentionally, she is also the reason for a lot of his anger. Reason being the stuff I said earlier. I don't recall if OP said that her BF was already going through mental therapy or not yet, but obviously that's needed here. User Speedy and Spock said, paralyzed guy here. You need to break up with him and he needs to hit rock bottom / go to therapy. Don't beat yourself up. This is his journey. User Con Incognito said, "Course his mom wants you to stay, you're a free live-in nurse for them, but it's not your responsibility to give up your life to take care of your boyfriend, especially after he became abusive. You stuck it out for 2 years, that's enough." Under this comment, another user said, "His mom doesn't want to be his punching bag when OP leaves, and she is stuck carrying for him. OP, you deserve to be happy and live the life you want. You don't love him, that's all you need to leave." User Cordobono said, "I'd say leave. You are not a trash person. You stayed and moved in with his parents and supported him. You did all you could, but at the end of the day, you are still a person with feelings. What he is doing on purpose or not is just cruel. Choose yourself and leave. Like you said, you can't help someone who does not want to be helped. They will see you as that person, but just know in reality, you are not." Under this comment, user Grumpy NetGeek in Texas said, "As a disabled person, we actually understand how hard it is to deal with us and our anger about our disability. I would say with what I've read, I would say you gave it your all, and it's incredible that your job is so lenient to allow you to leave when you need to. He needs to seek therapy to handle his anger about this, and you will not be able to help him through that. Let me say that clearly. You can't heal his anger at his disability, and you have gone above and beyond. Be clear to him when you break it off and leave no doubt that it's over, and it's 1000% not about his disability, it's about his anger." User O Wise One said, "First of all, I want to acknowledge the truly selfless thing you have done for more than 2 years. Besides taking care of your BF, have you dealt with the grief of losing the life that you planned with him? It must have been devastating for you too. If you have suppressed your own feelings, then please get therapy to take care of yourself. Next, this is an abusive relationship. The reason why he treats you this way is no longer relevant. You need to get out for your own mental safety. His mother is defending her son because this is also a tragedy for her, but that does not make her right. Don't let her guilt you into staying. I wish you the best." Under this comment, OP said the following, "I pretty much ignored any feelings or thoughts of my own because my boyfriend was the priority. He was the one in need of help. He is the one who is suffering the most, and my own feelings can wait. However, I'm just exhausted. I didn't know how else I was supposed to convince him that I still loved him. Every day I gave him assurance of my genuine feelings towards him. I am a very physical person. Kissing and hugging are my love languages, so I always tried to show my affection to reassure him that his disability did not change anything feelings-wise. He seemed particularly upset that he still felt all of those physical desires and urges, but was practically unable to do anything about it. I suggested exploring specific options for intimacy that are catered towards disabled people. There are folks who have all sorts of physical impairments, but those don't stop them from enjoying sexual activities. My boyfriend, instead of at least contemplating the idea, immediately became outraged and insulted, starting to yell at me for implying that he is impotent and less of a man. I never implied that he is any less of a man. I just suggested options that we could explore so he could still enjoy physical intimacy. He told me to leave and, I quote, "buy a while you're at it." I just waved it off as a moment of anger and didn't think much of it. But in retrospect, I think his inability to perform anymore really destroyed his self-esteem. I have never brought it up again, and I decided to come to terms with the idea that my physical needs are off the list. But then he started neglecting simple emotional intimacy. I simply wanted to cuddle while watching a movie, give him a hug or kiss him, maybe compliment him on his haircut or the nice shirt that he wore, but all of those things either went ignored or he looked like the simple reciprocation of affection between two people in a relationship was a chore. The more time went on, the more dissociated he appeared. In the last few weeks, he looked like he didn't even want to exist in the same room with me. I chalked it up to him being depressed, but emotionally, I feel like a mop in this relationship, like he's wiping the metaphorical floor with me, and I'm just hoping against all hope that his former self is going to resurface again soon. I realized that I neglected a lot of my own needs for him, but at this point, I'm afraid to leave because he pushed away all of his friends too. His family and I, that's all he has. If I leave, I'm a bit afraid that it may become a catalyst for something truly awful, especially since he's obviously already depressed. User Coffee Cat said, "My ex became disabled from the knees down not a year into our relationship. I stuck with him. Hospitals, therapy, converting my house as much as I could to make it better for him. He was able to start walking again with assistance. It was draining though. I was constantly hurting myself trying to help him. He was much bigger than me. It actually got worse when he was able to get his license back. Emotional abuse and manipulation became clearer. He got into another car accident and became paralyzed from the waist down. I felt so stupid because I was blinded by love that I didn't realize he had become addicted to the pain pills and how much hurt he was putting me through. It was like a light switch was turned off. I no longer loved, nor was I in love with him. They call it death by 1,000 cuts for a reason. You need to love yourself more than anyone else. User How This Happened said, I think it'd be helpful for you to stop thinking of it like you're abandoning him or leaving him because of his injury. You definitely aren't. You'd leave him because of his abuse. I'd tell him as much. It's one thing to care for someone and help them when life throws them for a loop. It's another to allow yourself to be abused because another person refuses to regulate their emotions and doesn't possess the tenacity to become the best they can be. Being merciful, I'd understand if he was that way for a few months after the accident, but it's been 2 years and he's allowed himself to become cruel towards you. That right there is the critical point. All feelings aside, that should be behavior you do not tolerate to stay around, period. It's awful what he's gone through, and it's easy to think maybe it's just part of the healing process and that anger is normal. Anger is normal. But hating the people around you and harming the ones you love, emotionally, physically, or in any way at all that was intentional, is not normal. User Lighthouse on Saturn said, you gave it 2 years, that is more than enough time. He isn't just depressed, he is being abusive. His tragedy does not give him a free pass to abuse others. Yes, you should leave, but do not expect his parents to be on your side. You are basically a live-in nurse at this point, and they are only looking out for themselves and their son. They do not have your best interest at heart. I would make plans to leave quietly. Get all important documents out of the house and anything of value. Tell them you're leaving after you have other arrangements made. This next story was made in the Entitled Parents subreddit 5 months ago by a user named EducationalTax189. The post is titled, My Father Demands an Apology After 10 Years of No Contact. This post does have an edit at the start, but we will go over that toward the end of this first post. I would like to apologize in advance if my English is not correct. English is not my first language, but I will try to do it correctly. I really need advice because I don't know it all that well anymore. The story is a bit long, but please hear me out. When I was 11 years old, my parents divorced. My father cheated a lot, and my mother forgave him every time because she wanted to keep the family together. When I was 11, my father cheated again and ran off with another woman. What followed was a huge divorce with a lot of fighting and arguing. The only thing my father didn't want was us as children. It was decided that I had to go to my father on the weekends because where I live, divorces go through the courts, and they think it is important that children continue to see both their parents. During these weekends, I was used more as a kind of Cinderella by my father and his girlfriend, and I was systematically abused mentally and physically. Every time I made a mistake in their eyes, didn't do something the way they wanted, or didn't get things done on time because I had a lot to do, I was beaten with objects or just by hand. My father's favorite thing was his belt, and my stepmother liked to use an electric fly swatter, which gives off electric shocks when you turn it on so that you can kill the fly without crushing it, so to speak. If you hold it against your skin with the metal part, you will get a pretty hard electric shock. To this day, I am terrified of electric fly swatters, even though they are very common household items where I live. I managed to hide the abuse for years by wearing baggy clothes with long sleeves, whether it was summer or winter. Because of this, I quickly became the weird kid at school and had no friends. The abuse had enormous mental consequences, but I wanted to persevere because I was afraid that if I stopped going on weekends, my father's girlfriend would take out her anger on my little sister. She was only 5 when my parents broke up. I withdrew more and more to my room when I was with my mother so that I didn't have to talk to her. My mother is a sweetheart. She is really sweet and friendly and only wanted the best for me. She thought I was having trouble with the divorce and that I was starting to go through puberty. She regularly suggested that I go to a therapist, but I always didn't want to because I wanted to protect my sister. When I was 16, my gym teacher found out about the bruises because I suffered an injury during sports class, and she had to look at my legs. As a result, child protection was immediately called to see that I was covered in bruises. My mother was so shocked that she kept me and my sister at home from that moment on. The judge decided that the contact arrangements were terminated and that we, as children, no longer had to visit my father. My father has always blamed me for the fact that he no longer sees his children. He called me a bad daughter and said I should never have told anyone what happened in our home. He felt that it was no one's business and that it was bad parenting, that it would make me hard and grow up to be a strong woman who could serve her husband in this way. He said that if I behaved better and did what I was told, I wouldn't have to be beaten. 10 years have passed since then. Because of what happened, and since we lived in a small village, everyone knows what he and his now wife did to me. I moved far away from them and cut off all contact with him. I went to therapy to learn to deal with everything. I have a very sweet partner who supports me and also helps me to overcome my fears that I developed because of my father. I regularly have panic attacks at home and am afraid of being home alone. We bought a video doorbell so I can see who is at the door without having to go to the door because I'm afraid he will find out my address and come to see me. He has already tried to find out my address a few times through my sister since she has been in contact with him again for a few years. Her reasoning was that they have not done anything to her and that they are always kind to her, so she sees no reason not to visit regularly. Recently, I received a letter from my father through my sister in which he demanded that I apologize for my behavior and claimed that because of me, the entire village thinks he is a disgrace. In the letter, he said that he is getting older and that his hearing and vision are getting worse. He demands that I apologize to him and that I introduce him to my partner, who really doesn't want that because he knows my entire history. He thinks he has been a good father and that being raised by my mother has made me soft and that I am a bad woman now that I am pursuing a career outside the home in biology. My sister tells me that I should just say sorry and that he will really leave me alone afterward. He really just wants to hear that he was a good father and that I regret talking to people 10 years ago when they saw my bruises. I really don't want to, but my sister and father's family keep pestering me to say that I should just do it so that he can move on and the village will no longer find him a shame. I really don't want to, and I haven't slept at night because of it. I don't know what to do anymore, and my partner tries to keep me calm so I don't have to think about it anymore because it gives me panic attacks. But my father and his family keep insisting and nagging me to do it by sending me messages on social media and calling me. I keep blocking them, but they create new throwaway accounts to reach me or give letters and messages to my sister so she can give them to me. I didn't tell my mother about this because she already feels very guilty that she didn't notice the abuse all those years ago. So, what do you think? Should I just apologize to get it over with? Edit. Well, I have woken up to a lot of reactions. Thank you all so much. I have asked my little sister to talk soon. I'm going to explain why her behavior is hurting me, and if she doesn't stop giving me the messages from my dad's family, I will go no contact. As for my father, I have blocked everyone on social media and their phone numbers. My partner and I are going to get new phone numbers and we will shut down the social media accounts we have. Thank you all for your advice, and I will update you when I speak to my little sister. User Kaokabanis said, hell no. I have seen his behavior many times when I worked in law enforcement. He is a typical narcissist abuser who will go to any length to avoid taking responsibility for their actions. You have done nothing wrong at any time. Tell him to burn in hell. Under this comment, user Content Great Grandma said, I totally agree. He wants your apology to validate his abuse. He is a total waste of oxygen and space. Do not apologize. You did nothing wrong. You may want to tell your sister that if she persists in pushing for a reconciliation, that your contact with her will be finished. Don't give your sperm donor space in your head. Live a good life and enjoy the freedom from any contact with him. User Snoowords4839 said, send him a bill for all of your therapy. Tell your sister you don't want the monster in your life and she is lucky she was never abused. Edit, have a lawyer send them a cease and desist letter. If they continue after that, call the police and report the harassment. User Nodak1954 said, shut down your social media accounts and tell your sister to throw away anything she gets from relatives for you that you don't want to see or hear from the relatives ever again on those subjects. Under this comment, user Team Dog Mama said, he wants his reputation fixed. You wanted a father who didn't hit you. Sucks to want. I'd go farther and cut the sister out. If she was a loving sister, she would protect Op. She is enjoying this. Do not apologize. Turn off your social media, change your phone number if you need to. If he ever does show up, call the police and tell them he is harassing you. You can even lie and say you don't know him. He is a crazy and disturbed old man. User Excellent Ad 1132 said, do not apologize. You did nothing wrong. Next time you hear anything from the flying monkeys, the assholes who say you should apologize to this piece of shit, tell them that if they knew exactly how he abused you, they wouldn't be pushing you to ever speak or see him ever again. If they want to have him in their lives, fine. But to you, he is a piece of garbage that needs to die screaming in pain and alone. Let them know that when he dies, you will want to know where his grave is so that you can piss on it on the date of his birthday every year. You will also not be attending his burial since he is hopefully going to hell and burning there forever. About 2 weeks later, OP gave us an update. So I've read all your comments and I'm so grateful. I didn't know there would be so many internet strangers behind me. I met up with my sister and told her everything. I told her about how my father and his now wife beat me, about how I protected her, and about the mental and physical damage that the behavior of my father and his wife caused me. She mainly cried a lot. There is a lot of pressure from his family to get back in touch with me as I am getting better at my job and am starting to have a prominent role in it. Something that his family would like to show off is that I am successful and well known in my profession. She just didn't know what to do, and that's why she reacted very aggressively and painfully. We talked this out and hugged it out. She also told me that my father's wife often goes through her phone. That's how she found my phone number. He helps her unlock the phone. My sister has changed her unlock codes several times, but he keeps copying them from her. We have agreed to buy a second phone where she can keep all her important things and save all her important contacts, so she only has to show the old phone to my father to play games on it. She will keep the new one a secret. She really doesn't want to go to my father anymore, but there is a lot of pressure on her from the family to go, as she is the last child of my father who still has contact with him. We have also discussed this with our mother, and we are going to make a plan with our lawyer so that they cannot bother her if she stops going. I have ignored my father and his family as much as possible. I have threatened that if they don't leave me alone, I will send the police after them for stalking. So far, it's been quiet and I haven't heard from anyone else. I hope it stays calm and that my sister can now also relax. Thank you all for your support and answers. User Traditional Curve 401 said, "How old is your sister? Why can't she just stop going? Block all of the family on social media and their phone numbers. That should lessen the pressure significantly. Also, proceeding with legal action would be wise." Under this comment, OP said the following: "She just turned 19. The problem is more that she is terrified that my father's family will harass her extremely and put pressure on her to come. And everyone also knows where she lives since she still lives at home with our mother. So that's why we're going to make a plan with our lawyer." User Boudica's Justice said, "I'm so glad your sister listened to you and believed you. I hope you and your mother can get her away from your father. I'm so sorry this happened to you. You are strong and brave, and you should be proud that you stood up to your father and threatened him with stalking charges. Congrats on your career as well." User Barack Goreng said, "I empathize with your situation deeply. For 3 decades, I maintained a no-contact stance with my father. Eventually, influenced by my half-sister and my close bond with her, I reluctantly agreed to reconcile as he approached the end of his life. Looking back, I regretted this decision as it felt like a validation of his past hurtful actions that led to our estrangement. I wish he had passed away acknowledging the pain he caused rather than assuming all was well and that he was a great father." User I'm Always the Asshole One said, "You should look into a restraining order or something along those lines. He is harassing you and so is the family. Tell your sister to stop giving you letters, or rip them up in front of her. Also, don't apologize. You didn't do anything wrong. If he didn't want the village to shame him, then he shouldn't have hit you." User Yokai Watch Fan 2102 said, "OP, you should send the police on them anyways. What your father is doing is harassment. Your father needs to learn that no contact means no contact. Honestly, what is he and his family not getting about this? OP, your dad is nuts and his wife is insecure. Call the police and get a no contact order in place against your father and his wife. And while you're at it, file harassment charges against your father and every one of his family members that harass both you and your sister. Clearly he's not respecting your boundaries, so he needs to learn this lesson the hard way. Oh yeah, and for the time being, it might be best to tell your sister to remove your contact information from her phone until you can find a safe way to communicate with each other."